Cash Flow Investors Live. And today we're going to talk about a bunch of the questions. So if you guys have questions about investing, make sure you send it in. We have a lot of questions. We're probably not going to get to all of them, but we will get to some. Having said that, for everybody that is not a member of Burr Cash Flow Investors, make sure you become a member. And invite your friends, invite your family, because every time you invite somebody and they become a part of the group, part of the community, it costs nothing to them. And guess what happens? You get one extra chance to enter into the next drawing, and that is for 2 airplane tickets up to $1,000 in value each. So $2,000 in value. And what we're trying to do is we're going to try to build to a big, huge prize. So every couple of months, we do the drawing. The first one was for a set of appliances. Second one was for a cruise for 2 that Miss Amal won. And this one is going to be in the next 2 months that we're going to do a drawing. So hopefully it's you and your spouse or your kids, whoever you want to take them on a nice vacation somewhere. That will be on us. So having said that, make sure you invite friends, family, or other people that you think are interested in investing. Having said that, we're super excited. So we have a stunning looking model here for you that you've never seen a more so this is Matt, and he's showing off his 257 sweatshirt and the cap. So, Matt, you ever had a chance you may get a new job, right? So, but anyways, we have the 257 merch in. Thank you so much. Oh yeah, there we go. You're supposed to take the tag off, man. That's supposed to be a t-shirt, right? So anyways, so for everybody from Mastery, if you're part of the group, next time when you're here, support it, grab a t-shirt for yourself, and be proud to wear 257 Cash Flow for Life, which is 2 years, 5 properties, get them all paid off in 7, Cash Flow for Life. Okay. So let's get started. So the first question that came in today was, we recently bought our primary residence 2 years ago, and it was overpriced, so we don't have a bunch of equity. Looking to purchase an investment property this year, how can that be done? Which loan besides conventional is recommended? Any advice to come out with as low money as possible? So actually a great question. And the whole thing basically simply is, hey, we bought our primary residence a couple of years ago. Obviously the prices were on the way up. So we may have paid a little bit more than we really wanted to because there was so much perceived appreciation that was going on in the market. So we don't necessarily have a lot of money. How would we buy a investment property? So that was kind of the question. So let's kind of look at it. How do we do it? So, hey, Joseph, can you grab this camera and turn the camera a little bit, please? So I'm going to kind of lay out a couple of different options as to how you would do that, right? And a lot of times what people think is, oh my God, I got to basically save up a bunch of money to be able to do, to be able to buy a cash flow property, to be able to buy an investment property. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. Number one is you can do it the Mastery way, how we do it generally. And the way we always buy a property is we're going to buy a property so that by the end of the transaction, we don't have any money out of pocket, right? So number one option is going to be is if you have some money, let's hypothetically suppose this person has, let's say they have $40,000 or $50,000 down payment. Right? Now, that money does not have to stay in the property. It will get recycled out, right? It will get 100% recycled out after the transaction is over. But if they have $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, they can buy a investment property with a hard money. So they can put down 15% of the purchase price. So let's say hypothetically you're buying a property for $160,000. So what would be a 15% of that? 15% of that is going to be about 15,000 plus another, say, $10,000 or so. So about $25,000 you put down as down payment. You buy the property. You use the hard money, 100% of it, in terms of rehabbing the property. So when you buy the property and you rehab the property, and I'm assuming these people want to keep the property for a long-term rental. So the rule you have to follow is that, hey, Joseph, can you turn the camera, please? Or
Yes, I can.
yeah, so turn the camera so that I can show this example. So, okay, so let's look at it this way. So let's hypothetically suppose, so there's two ways of doing this. Number one is you would do it with hard money if you have a little bit of money. Let's just say you have, 40 to 50K, and you don't want to leave this in the property. Ideally, you shouldn't, because if you leave that in the property, then you're going to run out of it. And this person said, hey, we don't have very much money. So that's one. Number two way of doing it is doing private money loan on the front end, and then refinancing it 100% out, meaning your purchase and rehab is what you're going to refinance out. So let's first look at the hard money example. So with hard money, if you don't have a lot of experience, right? A lot, I mean, is if you're not done 30, 40 transactions, I'm assuming this person has not done that yet. It's okay, but I'm assuming that they have not. So in that case, in today's market, you're going to have to put down 15% of the purchase price. This is going to be of purchase, and 85% is what they're going to give you of the purchase price, right? So you're going to put 15% down. So to make numbers very simple, hypothetically, if you're buying a property for $100,000, that means you have to come down with $15,000, and they'll give you $85,000 in loan. And so this is of the purchase, right? Of the rehab, they're going to give you 100%. Now, you're like, but Andrew, who would do that? Well, all you have to do is contact us at National RE Funding. That's nationalrefunding.com. You guys should all, they're all like, sporting around in 257 T-shirts and paraphernalia here. So, okay. So everybody is good model. So here's Farah, but you gotta show the thing. You can't have your hair over there. Yeah. There's Rahul, right? There is Miss Jennifer. So everybody, and then here's Joseph and Lori. Oh, you can't come back for a second showing, man. You people already are tired of your schmuck.
I'm not here.
So. Anyways, so guys, thank you very much we should take a group picture here in a minute. Yeah, okay. So let's go back to what we're talking about, right? So you basically are buying a property for $100,000. 85% of that is going to come from the hard money lender, and 100% of the rehab is going to come from hard money lender. So you're going to have to come up with, in this case, 15K, right? That's what you're going to come up with. Now, here's what you're going to do. So if you're going to buy the property, so let me actually put some numbers. You're going to come up with 15K. 85K is going to be your loan. And let's say you're going to do 30,000 in rehab. So now when you go to refinance the property, what do you have in it? You have a total 15,000 came from you, 85,000 came from the lender, and 35,000. So you're in this deal for about 130K, and then you might have another, let's say 10,000 in other costs. So in the deal for 140. So now what our goal needs to be is this. Hey, how do I get my 15,000 back? Because I don't have a lot more money beyond that to keep investing all the time. So I need to basically buy the property based on three standards, right? Number one is I need to make sure I have equity in the property after rehab. Second is that I have cash flow, so that the property needs to make a minimum by our standards, anywhere from $400 minimum to $500 in terms of net cash flow. And third thing is that the property has DCR. If you just keep those three things in mind, even though you may have bought the property a little bit high with your personal residence, that's okay, right? That's not going to matter as long as you, in the future, you're going to buy it based on these three criteria. So what does that mean? I'm in the deal for 140, and how much does the property have to appraise by so that I can basically get every single penny out of the property, right? So we're going to do the math real quick here. So basically, it needs to be higher by 1.25. So you're going to basically just figure out what is that number that it needs to be higher by that number, right? So if 100% is 140, then 125 is what? So how are you going to do that? So you're going to take 1.25 times 140,000, and that gives you, so if you have 175, right? Let's make sure I am right, times 0.75, right? Yeah. So basically the property needs to appraise. Hopefully, because you've done the work to the property on the back end, the property is worth much more than what you bought the property for. So on the back end, the property needs to appraise for somewhere around 175,000, right? That's what it needs to appraise for. As long as it appraises for that, your initial money that you put in will come out, and the hard money lender will get paid everything back. So you have zero money out of the deal. So that's one way of doing it, is with hard money. Now, the second way of doing it is how we do it in Mastery, which is we're going to basically have private money. So private money person, you're going to borrow the money for purchase plus the entire money from rehab. The way in Mastery people scale up is this is what they do. They're buying the entire amount of property, meaning the purchase plus the rehab. They're getting a loan upfront from someone in Mastery as a private money lender, and then they're going back and then they're renting the property out. They're doing Airbnb, they're doing midterm rental, and then refinancing the property out and then paying the hard money lender back. So both ways of doing it. And then the other question was, so you don't have to do it with a conventional loan. This would be a way where you can recycle 100% of the money. You still have a ton of equity, so you don't have to put down 20%. You don't have to put down 10%. You can literally do this with zero in and have a lot of equity and have a ton of cash flow. I mean, in the Chicago market, there are close to about 18,000 properties or so that are owned from Mastery that every single person has done this. Huge equities, huge cash flow. This can be done. We're doing this with all the new construction in Florida. Perfect example. I built a duplex, all-in cost, including purchase plus rehab, $360,000. Land purchase and build. I shouldn't say rehab. I should say build cost, right? Including GC fee and back-end appraisal, somewhere around $510,000. Then I took 75% of that. So I'm out of pocket. When it's all said and done, I'm out of pocket zero. So that's how you do it. Hopefully that answers the question. Second question was, this is a great question. Can we discuss partnerships? So when we think about partnerships in real estate, right, keep some basic things in mind. Number one is going to be is whenever you go into partnership with somebody, it's like getting married. Like, this is a business marriage. It's not a interpersonal relationship marriage that way. This is a business marriage. Why do I say that? So think about this. How are partnerships can be done? Andrew, let's just say your name is Tom, right? You and I can be partners, and we can partner with a joint venture agreement. That's one way of doing a partnership. Second way of doing a partnership is I can have a LLC, you can have a LLC, or you can be your own name, and the two people can sign a joint venture agreement, and we can agree to do a deal, we can agree to do a flip, we can agree to do a rental, and we can have a partnership. That's one way of doing it. Now, most people don't do it that way. A lot of times what people will do is, but Andrew, I met this person. They seem like a nice person. I want to do this. They also want to do it. So both of them will go set up a LLC. And it's Andrew and Tom LLC. The problem becomes is this, that if both of us set up an LLC and Tom goes and basically does something that I may not like or I may not want to be a part of, because he goes and signs for the LLC, I might also be on the hook depending on how your LLC documents are all put together, right? So this is important. So initially, whenever you think about partnerships, think about dating first, meaning that you hopefully are not going to go and just get married with somebody on your first or second date. You're probably going to date the person. You're going to get to know them. You're going to have a time of, bliss, 6 months, whatever it is, before you really, 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 really hopefully get to know the person in good and bad circumstances. And then you will decide to get married. Why? Because marriage hopefully is going to last for a long amount of time. Right? So a lot of times what happens with partnerships is people go and set up an LLC first. First thing. They're like, well, we are going to buy a flip, so we just decided to go do an LLC. You don't have to, right? You can do it this way, which is you can basically, you, Tom, or Andrew, whoever, one person can decide to buy the property. And let's just say it's going to be in Tom's LLC, and your property is 123 Main Street, right? So this LLC will own this particular property, 123 Main Street, and this, your LLC or you are going to have a JV agreement, and that JV agreement doesn't just have to be on paper. That JV agreement can be recorded at the courthouse. And if you don't want everybody to know, oh my God, how much is Andrew getting? How much is Tom getting? If you don't want that to be out in public, what you can do is sign a JV agreement and then record what is called a memorandum to a partnership agreement. It basically, all it says is, memorandum says is, hey, there's a partnership exists between such party, and please refer to so-and-so, and that's it. So this person cannot sell the property, they cannot put a mortgage on it, they cannot do anything with the property because they may be perfectly fine. But what if something happens to them? What if they're sick? What if they pass away? What if life happens? And the spouse or the kids or other people who inherit the property, they may not agree with you. How do you protect yourself? You don't have to have, if you've ever heard that whole idea of, it's not about owning real estate, it's about controlling real estate. This is all about control. The reason why I say that is that a lot of times it does not make sense to go into a partnership, meaning go on a LLC. You can do a joint venture with somebody and you can do it with a JV contract, right? So you can do a JV contract for flips. You can do a JV contract for rentals. You can do a JV contract if you want to run a wholesale business together and do a few deals. And don't just, if one deal goes right, see, everything is great when something goes right. But what if something goes wrong? A person's character is revealed not when things are going right, but when something goes sideways. That's really when a person's character comes out. So it's really important for you to pay attention to that, do a few deals and then decide. Now, if you still decide that, no, we want to be partners, right? Great. Like I've had properties that I've owned with Rahul for a long time, almost 10 years at this point, actually more, 12 years, right? We've owned properties and we've kept buying and buying. Initially, when we were buying, he had a W-2. I did not. I was doing flips on the side, 1099. So how were they done? They were done in a lot of LLCs that Rahul owned at the time, and I was a JV partner, right? That's how we did it. My interest was 100% protected because what you can do is you take the JV, go to the courthouse, and you record it against that property, and that's it. Right? You're 100% protected because they can't put a mortgage on it. They can't sell the property. They can't do anything with the property because you have a recorded JV agreement, right? If you want a sample of that, especially if you're at the 3-day, we'll show it to you. If you're from Mastery, you can obviously download it from the Mastery portal. We have a whole video on how do you do a JV for a flip. How do you do a JV for a rental property? And it should be done. And guys, please don't do a JV with another person. If you are just getting started and you're broke, don't find another person that's just getting started and they're broke also, right? You got to do a JV with somebody that you may have certain pieces and they have certain pieces missing. They have certain pieces and you have certain pieces missing. So in Rahul's and my case, I was the one who was finding the property. I was getting the rehab done at the time. I was going to make sure that the property is managed properly for the rental portfolio, right? So I was doing all the work. But guess what I needed? I needed somebody at that time. Today, you don't need that, right? But at that time, this is during 2011 through 2015 and 16, I needed somebody who had a W-2 job and who could refinance properties. At the time, with the 1099, they were not letting you do a refinance. You needed a W-2. Didn't have to have a lot of income, but you needed W-2 income. That's not the case today. So you don't even have to worry about that. But so in Rahul's case, even though he didn't have real estate investing experience, I had that, but I couldn't do that. So I had to do a JV partnership for rental properties. And our deal was, hey, we're not going to personally take any cash flow. We're going to buy properties, either pay off the properties, or we're going to buy more properties with the cash flow that comes in from rental income. And then we're going to pay down the properties in the end. If we decide to sell it, we split the profits from the sale, from the cash flow 50-50. That was the deal, right? And we have, till this day, we have stuck by that. I mean, it's a few hundred properties and counting, and still we've stuck by that because both of us have always tried to do the right thing. So on that one thing, we've never had disagreements because we realize that, hey, we're doing this for the long term. Now he's buying a lot of properties on his own. I'm buying a lot of properties on my own, and same thing in Florida. But that doesn't take away those properties. There's hundreds of those properties that are just sitting there in LLCs where we get basically cash flow income from every single month. And for about 12 years, we never took a dime out of it. Today, we're just taking that income half and half, and we're just buying more properties with it. We were doing it combined. Now we realize after 12 years that what happens, because everybody's getting older, Rahul's kids have grown up now. So now we're just doing the same thing, just doing it a little bit differently. So when you're doing partnerships, please, for God's sake, don't go and set up an LLC. You can have two separate LLCs, so you can have two individuals that sign a contract, because once both of you go on one LLC, guess what happens? You become responsible for the other person's actions. Perfect example would that be like, I bought an airplane, right? And Rahul and I at one time were on one LLC. Think about this, right? If something happens, right? I forget to put the gear down. There's a landing accident. Somebody gets hurt. I hope nothing worse than that happens, but you get my picture, right? What happens is there is a shared liability that the other person is sharing just because they are on that company, right? Now, today, that's not the case, but this is something we don't think about whenever we're getting started, because we're like, oh my God, everything is going to be great. We're such good friends. We just met. But yet, it's important to think about it. So it's much better than have two different entities, do a JV agreement, have everything, who's going to do what are your responsibilities, what are the other person's responsibilities, what are we going to do in case of a profit? What are we going to do in case of a loss? And does the other person have the ability to take a loss, right? This is something you have to think about. That's why that JV agreement that we have spells it out step by step by step. And it's not very big. It's like 4 pages. And that's all you need. But it needs to clearly stipulate exactly who's going to do what. What bank account are we going to deposit money in? Are we going to take money out of it? Can you take money out of can you take money out of? What do you have to ask the other person when you're taking the money out? So that's important. Now, the next thing was, in regards with private money, will a lender lend more money since there are 2+ investors involved? So I don't know if this is in regards with a question that's from Mastery, or this is a question outside of Mastery, but both ways, I'll answer it this way. If you're from Mastery, and as long as both the people that are involved in it, let's just say it's you and somebody else that's borrowing the money, and it's within Mastery, as long as the deal makes sense and you guys are sensible people, meaning you haven't cheated anybody, that kind of thing, that you have a good rapport with people, no problem. I mean, there should be no reason why the private money lender would have any issues. Secondly, that if you're outside of Mastery, right, money is being raised all the time from private money lenders, where there's a lot of investors. I mean, that's what syndication is all about. There's a lot of GPs, general partners, who raise capital from LPs, which is limited partners, and you can certainly get private money. Because what is private money? Private money is people like you and I and everyday people, and most of them are not in real estate, that are borrowing money to you because they want to get a little bit better return in real estate, and they believe that they can do that by investing with you. That's all that private money is. It just happens to be in Mastery because I early on needed a lot of private money. So that's in place for everybody from Mastery to borrow that money from. But private money is everywhere. It may be your grandmother, it may be your friend, it may be your neighbor, it may be somebody, your accountant, it may be your attorney, right? It's just that, can you present an idea to them that, hey, I'm going to do flips. I'm looking for investors to borrow X amount of thing. Now, if there are people that you know personally and you're taking private money from them, just please make sure you follow the guidelines. But if it's somebody that you know very well, the guidelines are very simple. If you're borrowing money from one person or so, and you're not pooling money off a bunch of investors. If you're going to pool money, right? If you're going to borrow money on a various amount of deals, I would suggest that you follow all the SEC guidelines. That's where you need a good attorney that specializes in writing a PPM, placement memorandum, and you should consult somebody for that. But if you're borrowing, I always used to borrow money one investor and one deal. So I was giving them a first lien position on a property, so it was never an issue, right? I was not putting them in a second lien position. I was not combining people's money. I never did that. So then it was never an issue. But if you're going to do it on a bigger scale, certainly you should have a competent attorney address that. Otherwise, but just getting money from Mastery is no issue at all. Even if you have two investors in a deal, if you're going to do that outside, that's totally fine also, as long as the lender is aware who are the two people that are involved in that. Having said that, we will wrap up for today. Please keep the questions coming. I think I had 16 more questions here. We only got through the first part of it. We want to keep it this fun, interactive, and please send in your questions. Again, to remind you, if you're not a member of Burke Cashflow Investors, make sure you become a member. Invite your friends, invite your family, invite other people that may be interested in real estate. And every single time we do these, we do them on Mondays, we do them on Wednesdays and Fridays. We're trying to bring actual live interesting things that people ask about to the thing. Next time, we're going to be doing an analysis of a multi-unit building that I am personally buying, and we're going to do a breakdown of that. We're going to have you look at exactly how do we do a breakdown and what are the things you look for. So we're going to go through that. So I think this will be a lot of fun for you to look at, and it'll be fun for me to show you how we start the due diligence process. Of course, in about 20 minutes or so, because we're trying to keep these things short, we're not going to be able to do the whole due diligence, but certainly we'll go through a nice checklist for you, which will be a great place for you to start. This is Andrew. Again, talk to you soon, and make sure you become a member of Burke Cashflow Investors. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.